So immortality is, I think, is a huge deal in the Asian culture. We always have all these kings and emperors trying to look for the cure to like natural death. And then we also have the King Arthur and well, but that's a myth. Let's see, immortality. There you go. Now, for the record, I did not intend for this video to be as dark as it came out. I was in my head. Okay, I'm a comedian, so I was thinking it was going to be presented in a funny way. So in my head, as I was writing the script, it was like, haha, funny, haha. And then they made the video and they showed it to me. I'm like, that's so depressing. Why did you make the person look so depressing? Because in my head, it was supposed to be funnier. I'll show you what I meant by that after. So immortality. Which superhero do we have that's immortal?
Wolverine. Wolverine.
Wolverine and?
I want to be the superhero that is immortal.
Ah.
That would be me.
Okay. Wolverine technically is he regenerates. He's not technically immortal. Immortal means he cannot die from natural causes.
The Phoenix be immortal because she dies.
Phoenix died. Yeah, well, that's true. She did die. She comes back and then she died again in X2, in X3. So I don't think there's a lot of actually immortal ones other than the vampires that the vampire movies that doesn't really count. But I think there's a reason for not having like immortal ones. Wolverine is the closest thing we have. And speaking of Wolverine, I would like to. Thor is you know what? They say he's a demigod. Like demigod is supposed to be the product of God and a human. Thor is just an alien from another dimension. He's not really a god. You know, when we die, we don't go to Asgard. So, you know, so the fact that they called it a god is just because Thor has powers that cannot be explained by human physics. So I always found it weird that they called him a demigod or a god, because he's really not a god. He's just an alien from another dimension. We don't call anybody else gods. We don't call E.T. a god. So no, he's not really a god. So far with the commonly known superheroes, I would say Wolverine is the closest one, because the Wolverine origins, you see that he's actually lived through a really, really long time. You have no idea how old he really is because he doesn't age in the same way, which means he must have perfect teeth. That's what I was thinking. He must have perfect teeth. But there are a lot of problems with that. Do you know why Wolverine is always like this? When Hugh Jackman was playing the character, he remembered the acting tip he gave himself is, if I can't see my own eyebrows, I'm not crouching low enough. So the entire movie, he was trying to look at people like this. Also, he was really tall. But the reason why Wolverine acts the way he does, it's the memory of the trauma. Imagine the trauma you would feel if you were shot once. You would be dealing with that for the rest of your life, the horror of that. How many times has Wolverine been shot? More times than you can count. And shot and stabbed and skin peeled off with like an iron pole running through your body. Imagine the trauma he has experienced. Just because he healed quickly doesn't take the pain away. He still feels all of the pain. You know that, right? Like whenever he gets hurt, he still feels the pain. He just heals really quickly. But he retains all the memory. So imagine this person that's been battered so many times and abused. He's not acting nonchalant. He is terrified. He's suffering from like post-traumatic stress syndrome. So poor Wolverine is not a normal person anymore because he has all the memories of him being hurt over and over and over again. He can't make it stop. So there's a hidden pain behind this character. Like I sympathize when I see him. I'm like, oh, I feel bad for him. But Wolverine can heal. That is not immortality. So we're just talking about immortality if you just don't die. Oh, Dorian Gray, I like that one. Yes. Not a superhero, but still.
Immortality. In movies, kings are always searching for the secret to immortality. But is immortality really a good thing? To a 10-year-old boy, 1 year is the same as 10% of his life. To his 40-year-old mother, 1 year is merely 2.5% of her life. The same year, 365 days, can feel differently to different people. If we live until we're 82, that's about 30,000 days. If this boy lives for 30,000 years, a year to him could feel like a day. And if this boy's emotions sustain through the potential boredom of living for millions of years, he might become extremely lonely and sad, knowing he has and always will outlive everyone he has ever loved. But what if everyone were immortal? Well, first off, Earth is only so big, so where would we all live? No, excuse me, no, that's my face. Oh, stop it. Pardon me. Tight in here. Do you remember what you did last year? What about when you were 5? How much of your past have you forgotten? If you're having trouble remembering what you did when you were 5, how will you remember what happened if you were alive 1,000 years ago? 1,000,000 years ago? We don't remember every single detail of our past because our brains have a limited capacity, and we replace useless memories like middle school locker combinations with relevant information. If this immortal boy finds a companion to fall in love with once every 100 years, he would have 10,000 girlfriends in 1,000,000 years. And how many of those 10,000 girls' names will he be able to remember?
That's my favorite part. Talk about significant relationship, right? If you just one, the love of your life, one time in 100 years, right? You multiply that by 10,000. You get 1,000,000 years, then really changes the idea of a significant relationship. He really is going to run out of arm space. And how many names do you really think he can remember after being 1,000,000 years old? That's so sad.
Changes what a meaningful relationship means, doesn't it? Another tricky thing about immortality, human beings have not always looked the same. This can be explained by Darwin's theory of evolution. For instance, if women find taller men more attractive, then more tall men would mate and have children, putting more tall genes in the gene pool. That means in the next generation, more children will have the genes to be taller. Repeat that process for 1,000,000 years, and the average height will be a lot taller than the average height today, assuming there's no natural disaster that wipes out all the tall people. Our ancestors were short, hairy apes. We still have body hair, but we don't look like apes anymore. If you're the only person who is immortal, while everyone else keeps evolving generation after generation, you will eventually look quite different than the people who surround you. Hi.
Right, so that's one thing as well that nobody thinks about, is that if you're immortal, even just now versus people a few centuries ago, we look a little bit different on the average, like even just our facial structures. And because this beauty standards change, okay? So beauty standards change across the different cultures, but symmetry is always something that we find attractive. So that's one thing that doesn't change, but still, we keep evolving. And I am aware that there's no such thing as a tall gene, but I was trying to find something that's easier for people to understand. So Darwin's theory of natural evolution, it doesn't happen in your lifetime. It's just how many genes in that gene pool are optimal for that particular environment. And we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. One example I use for instance, we say Japanese men are a little shorter than American men on average. So what if you consider the fact that Japan is an island that has a lot of earthquakes? Now, in earthquakes, people with lower center of gravity have a higher chance of survival. So maybe in an island like Japan, it is more optimal to live there and survive to mate if you are shorter than comparing if you're taller. I'm sure there's different factors that goes into it, but this is just one example of like something where height is not an advantage in a place that has a lot of earthquakes. If you're higher, and your center of gravity is higher, then you fall down, you die quicker. But that's just one example. We don't know what human beings will look like 1,000,000 years from right now. So like all the body hairs that we could have, maybe we'll have no actual hair. By the way, every part of our body have their own functions. Does anybody know what our eyebrows do? Why do we have eyebrows? There we go. So sweat doesn't fall into our eyes. A lot of people don't think about that. And so I'm like, come here. And I drop like drops of water on my children's, like, well, not my children, my students' face. And then they see, hey, the water falls into the eyebrow and then, hey, goes sideways. Doesn't go straight into your eyes. So different parts of your body have different functions. But some of them have evolved out of our lives. We don't have tails anymore. So we really don't know what we'll look like. Maybe there will be some kind of events that will give us really, really long necks because people with longer necks will reproduce more. Maybe we'll just have a Barbie fetish.
You doing? If one of our ancestors' apes is still alive today, how many people will make friends with it instead of calling the Museum of Natural History ugh? And one more physical consideration for immortality: scars. After all, immortality doesn't automatically translate to invincibility. It just means you cannot die. But it doesn't guarantee what condition you'll be alive in. So, look at your body and count how many scars you have. If you have made this many permanent scars within your life, imagine how much damage you would have if you were 1,000 years old. Now, there are approximately 185,000 amputation-related hospital discharges every year in the U.S. These injuries are due to accidents or illnesses. Certainly, the percentage is low comparing to the total population if you only live for 100 years. However, if you've been alive for over 1 million years, the odds of still having all your limbs are pretty slim. What about little accessories like your eyes, your nose, your ears, fingers, or toes? What about your teeth?
Okay, for the record, in my head when I was writing the script, I was imagining a Mr. Potato from Toy Story and just having things falling off of his potato body. I was like, ah, ha, 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 you know, like, oops, 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 here's my eyes, here's my... And then they did this. I'm like, this is so depressing. What did you do? This is meant for children. Where's my Mr. Potato Head? And I realized, copyrights. Yeah, they couldn't do that. So just for the record, I am not sinister. I was, in my head, this was supposed to be funny. And the BBC interview, they mentioned this. And I'm like, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean for it to be so horrible. I'm going to go back a little bit. But this is a valid point, though, when you think about it. We're still studying on how to regenerate limbs. But if you lose a piece of your finger, it grows back. If you lose a piece of finger up to a certain point on your bones, it does not grow back. Now, same things are irreplaceable, okay? So how many freak accidents are there in the US? We're not sure how many, but the percentage is really low. But the longer you live, the more likely it is that's gonna happen to you. And once you lose an eye, you lose an eye. Once you lose a limb, you lose a limb. It does not grow back, minus the Wolverine thing. But up to a certain point, you can still kill Wolverine, like if you just separate him far enough. Like there's still different things like that. Another aspect that I did not mention in this video because we ran out of time is there are some people's bodies that are still trapped under rubble somewhere or in the bottom of a lake or a bottom of a cliff that we just were never able to retrieve it. Okay, so if you're immortal and you don't die, and you one day get stuck in a situation where nobody can reach you, you're there forever. I can't say until you die, because you won't die. You're just going to be stuck in a situation forever. That's another consequence that people don't think about. So once you lose some of these things, you don't get it back. Okay, fine, teeth, you'll get dentures. But then what about your eyes, your nose, your lips, your ear, you know, your fingers, your toes, like all of these things. Once you lose it, it's gone. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit.
For over 1 million years, the odds of still having all your limbs are pretty slim. What about little accessories like your eyes, your nose, your ears, fingers, or toes? What about your teeth? What are the odds of you keeping your dental health for 100 years? 1,000 years? 1 million years? You might end up looking like a horribly scuffed up Mr. Potato Head with missing pieces and dentures. So, are you sure you want to live forever? Now, which...
Yeah, they can't even show Mr. Potato Head. I'm so sad. It is not what I wanted. But at least I got the point across. Being immortal has its own problems, really.
Highlander was the same, but they treated Highlander like Wolverine.
Kind of. Yeah, just like how many names can you remember if you know so many people after a while? Like how many people are really significant enough to you? Like you're going to start mixing memories. Because I mean, I already have... I think everybody has kind of a foreign people blindness. Like I remember I go to Uchiko a lot, and there's 2 bartenders there. They're both tall, they're both good looking, and they're both bald. So in my head, I just register, okay, Sam is a tall, good looking, bald, white bartender at Uchiko. And then there's another one that fit this description, and I've been calling the other one Sam for like months. And I realized, oh, there are 2 different people when they were together on one shift. Hey, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has this problem. Just, I mean, you guys don't come across enough like Asian people. I'm sure a lot of us look the same to you. It's okay. I completely understand. No, I'm actually very blessed that I happen to be an Asian person with a white person's body. So I'm like, yay! And I don't know how I got anyway, I think my mom made a deal with the devil, so I would just stand out. But yeah. I bet you if I lined up 10 girls that are Asian with the same haircut, you can't tell them apart. Yeah, now if you're immortal, good luck keeping those names straight. There's so few names in English. So like right now on your cell phone, you probably have a something mic, a big head mic, Asian mic, or different kinds of mics. Think about how many mics you will know if you're a million. That's horrible. Okay. Next one, shifting body size and content. This is the one where I want to talk about the Hulk, but I couldn't. So here's Chuck Norris. All right, speaking of names, in Chinese, the first name is made out of 2 different characters, and there's about over 3,000 commonly used characters in Mandarin Chinese. So if you studied algebra, you know that's 3,000 times 3,000. That's over 9 million different combinations. You could date a different person for the rest of your life and never repeat names, right? Not so in America. Like we have so few names to choose from, really. Like I remember I dated a Dan and a Jim. Now every time I drive by a Jim's restaurant and Dan's hamburger, I'm like, great. I dated a Sam. I had to change my Sam's club card to Costco just so I don't weep at the sight of groceries or every time I see like a 10-pound tub of like coffee. So it's really, really sad. Like my name is Joy, and my ex calls me the Grinch because Christmas used to be his favorite holiday, but now he just dreads December because he knows my name will be plastered everywhere. So I'm the Grinch that stole Christmas from him. I'm just going to tell that story to everybody else I date, just so you know, in case I dump you, Christmas will be ruined. Yeah. We need more name variances.